Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am so excited and honestly a little bit alarmed to take you on this investigative journey today. We're going to dive really deep into the hidden fire risks that are just lurking inside the very places most of us spend our entire week, everyday office buildings. We so often assume that just because a building looks modern and sleek, it's perfectly safe. But as we're about to see through a pretty rigorous real-world case study, having safety equipment around is definitely not the same thing as actually being safe. To really wrap our heads around why this matters, consider this staggering number: 1,389,000. According to the National Fire Protection Association, or the NFPA, that is the total number of fires reported in the United States in 2023 alone. Included in that massive figure are 470,000 building fires. And those resulted in tragic fatalities and literally billions of dollars in economic losses. Fire is just a massive, persistent global problem. In office buildings, they carry a uniquely high risk simply because of the sheer intensity of human activity and the massive web of electrical wiring needed to keep our businesses running. So let's zoom in from that giant global scale to a highly localized case study. In 2025, a fire broke out on the ground floor of Building X, which is an office building in South Jakarta, Indonesia. Now, what actually caused it? Well, it wasn't arson. It wasn't some massive gas leak. It was triggered by a seemingly minor short circuit. A leaky air conditioning drainage pipe just dripped onto some electrical cables that had been left without their protective piping. It's exactly the kind of mundane maintenance oversight that could happen in literally any office in the world, which really proves that disaster is so often born from the most ordinary circumstances. Okay, let's dive into the structure. Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We'll start with 1, the 2025 office fire. Then move to the safety system audit. 3, the protection failures. 4, the automated successes. And finally, 5, fixing the fire defenses. Section 1. The 2025 office fire. A localized threat with global implications. As we get into this, I really want you to picture your own office space. Think about all those invisible electrical currents running through the walls, through the ceilings, maybe right under your desk right now. We're seeing an escalating timeline of danger here. We start with the macro context in 2023 with those 1.38 million US fires. But look at 2024. A full year before the 2025 fire in Building X, there was an incident where an electrical outlet on the ground floor short-circuited and literally exploded. That was a giant red flag, a near miss that completely foreshadowed the actual 2025 incident. It proved that the building's electrical infrastructure had real vulnerabilities. And when the fire finally broke out in 2025, it triggered an exhaustive investigation to find out just how ready the building actually was. Section 2, the safety system audit. Investigating the defenses. All right, it's time to shift into detective mode and investigate the defenses of Building X. Now, to audit a building, you obviously need a rulebook. For this investigation, the researchers used the gold standard, the NFPA, or the National Fire Protection Association. This is the globally recognized benchmark for evaluating fire safety systems. We're going to use their strict, completely unyielding baseline standards to grade this building's defenses across multiple categories. The scope of this audit was incredibly comprehensive. The researchers went through the ground floor with a fine-tooth comb. They evaluated portable fire extinguishers under NFPA 10, the indoor and outdoor hydrant systems under NFPA 14, the overhead sprinkler systems using NFPA 13, and finally, the automated detectors and alarms using NFPA 72. They measured installation distances, they checked equipment documentation, and they compared absolutely everything to the strict codes. Section 3. The protection failures. When human error overrides technical readiness. Now, what's really interesting about this part of the audit is that it gets deeply fascinating because we discover an alarming failure rate for perfectly good equipment. Let's look at the non-compliance rates. 35.7% of the fire extinguisher checklist items failed. Sprinklers failed 25% of their checks, and hydrants failed 13.3%. But you have to keep in mind, the equipment itself wasn't broken. The extinguishers were fully pressurized. They had dry chemical powder, CO2, and foam ready to go. The hydrants had perfect water pressure. So why on earth did they fail the audit? Well, the answers are almost tragically ironic. The main reasons the extinguishers failed:
2 of them were literally placed directly on the floor, hidden behind kitchen furniture. No way, right? NFPA standards strictly dictate that extinguishers must be elevated at least 102 millimeters off the floor and be instantly accessible. But here, perfectly good, life-saving devices were rendered totally useless simply because someone decided to put a kitchen cabinet in front of them. Plus, 6 out of 7 extinguishers lacked any visual directional signs, and monthly inspections in the tenant areas were being completely ignored.
And this just brilliantly illustrates the core lesson of the entire audit. It's captured perfectly right here. The equipment was technically ready, but it contextually failed. Having the physical tool is utterly meaningless if human habits or poor interior design or a lack of signage make it totally inaccessible during a panic. I mean, when a fire breaks out, you don't have time to go moving furniture around just to find an extinguisher. And we see the exact same pattern of silly, human-centric mistakes with the hydrants and sprinklers. The hydrants were technically flawless. They had 30-meter hoses, great pressure, the whole shebang. But they lacked opening direction signs on the valves. Think about it. In a total panic, would a regular office worker know which way to turn a heavy industrial valve? They also had absolutely no usage instructions. As for the 603 sprinkler points installed across the floor, they functioned perfectly. They even had the correct 68 degrees Celsius activation glass bulbs. But they failed the audit because they lacked physical protective guards in bump-prone areas. And the building management just hadn't bothered to keep any backup sprinkler heads in stock for emergency replacements.
Section 4. The automated successes. The flawless performance of machines.
It's not all bad news, though. We are left with a really crucial comparison. On one side, you have your physical tools like the extinguishers and hoses. They require human maintenance, they need clear lines of sight, and they are incredibly vulnerable to everyday human error, like, blocking them with a couch. On the other side, you have automated tools, things like smoke detectors and alarm bells mounted high up on the ceilings. These are perfectly integrated, completely unobstructed by office furniture, and they operate totally independently. So, what was the result of that automation? 100%, a perfect score. The audit found that the building's smoke detectors and fire alarm systems achieved a flawless 100% compliance score under NFPA 72. Let's look at exactly how they pulled off that perfection. The automated systems absolutely thrived because they relied on strict, unchangeable mathematics. NFPA 72 requires detectors to be a maximum of 9.1 meters apart. Building X had them at a super safe 5.9 meters. They need to be far enough from AC vents to avoid airflow disrupting the smoke, and they were perfectly placed at 4.3 meters away. Even the manual call points, the break glass alarms, were installed exactly at the required 1.4 meter height and spaced out safely every 20 meters, which is well under the 30-meter maximum. Through all 13 main floors and 4 basements, the automated net was mathematically perfect. It completely removed human error from the equation.
Section 5. Fixing the fire defenses. Actionable steps for total compliance.
Okay, so how do we actually bridge this gap between human error and automated perfection? Well, based on the research, here is the actionable roadmap for any building manager who wants to achieve total compliance. Step 1. Fix the physical installations. Get those extinguishers off the floor, mount them properly, and install protective guards over your sprinklers. Step 2. Clear the path. You can never, ever allow office furniture or kitchen cabinets to block emergency equipment. Step 3. Add signs. This is an incredibly cheap but vital fix. Add highly visible directional signs, valve turning directions, and plain language usage instructions for everyday laypeople. And finally, step 4. Enforce strict, non-negotiable monthly monitoring. And that is especially crucial in tenant-controlled spaces where oversight usually tends to slip. I want to leave you with this final, really provocative thought. If a fire alarm rang in your office right this very second, is your workplace actually ready? Are the extinguishers visible, or are they hidden behind some decorative plant? Do you actually know which way to turn the hydrant valve? Technical readiness is great, but contextual readiness is what actually saves lives. Take a look around your own workspace tomorrow morning. You might be really surprised by what you find. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and please stay safe out there.